Hello, this is Reflect&Connect number 6, analyzing the Web 2017 article. From this article, I got 6 major takeaways. I counted, I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. I wrote them down. They're right here. Put them up here. Traditional teacher-directed model versus student-centered approach. Foundations of student-centered learning, benefits and challenges of student-centered learning, strategies for implementing student-centered learning, addressing the time constraint concern, and balancing teacher and student roles. Oh, I know, it's a lot. So I'm just going to talk briefly about each point. Traditional teacher-directed model versus student-centered approach. They're both important. Large ensembles, as mentioned in the reading, rely heavily on conductor-driven instruction. For example, CSO is conductor-driven instruction, not necessarily student-centered decision-making. That comes in our own individual practice times. As well, we get feedback and suggestions from Dr. Shad in our performances and our rehearsals. When it comes to this approach, fosters convergent thinking. That's a good word. Where students aim, or they try to get a single correct interpretation by the conductor. No room for interpretation. It can enhance problem solving, critical thinking, and reflective skills, and possibly just being able to take feedback and apply it to your own music. I think it's really important. We're 2 minutes and I gotta speed up. And this big overarching aspect, I'm sure, is student-centered learning. There's a bunch of different aspects of it, but I'm not going to dive too deep into them, such as having it be based from Vygotsky and Brenner, which are mentioned, which kind of bring out and emphasize active learning, scaffolding, that sort of stuff. There's also divergent thinking, which if I remember correctly, it's where they develop their own understandings and decision-making. Student-centered learning is good for independence, deeper musical understanding, motivation, musical retention. But low-key could also have some challenges. Role confusion, they're adjusting to a more active role, so maybe they could be a little bit put off by that, as well as time constraints, as mentioned earlier. Trying not to deviate from rehearsal objectives is very important when you have a very, very limited time. Speaking of time constraint, I'm going to dive into that a little bit more, because I feel like that's an issue. There's never enough time in the day. There's always something to hyper focus on during the lesson. Student-centered learning approaches don't hinder performance quality. It doesn't. At least I don't think so. If they're learning how to get better, the ensemble is going to sound better. What is it? You're teaching a group of individuals to function as a group. So if each individual gets better, and they get your in-class instruction on how to function as a group, they're going to be great. They're going to do fine. It's not going to make it worse. Engage them in decision-making and creativity. Make it not boring for them. If they're just going to sit in rehearsal all day, make it at least a little bit entertaining. Otherwise, they're just going to hyper focus on something else, and they should be staying on task. That also comes with balancing the teacher and student roles. Yeah, teacher-student roles. Um, Student-centered learning doesn't mean that the teacher does nothing and is absent, or like gives away all like responsibility and authority. Like, no, they're supposed to still be an active figure, and be a facilitator for the learning. You're supposed to guide them in the right direction, while still providing the structure and the scaffolding. That's the word. Where like applicable and necessary. So yeah, those are the takeaways I got from the reading.